My dad passed away in January 2022. He had dementia in addition to a host of other health issues, including severe depression and bipolar disorder. Before dementia took his ability to communicate, he worked with the homeless and addicted because that was his calling. He had been there himself, living on Skid Row in Los Angeles for a long time where he found his sobriety, and he had stayed so for over 53 years before he passed. The fact that I don't have any mental health or physical issues is dumbfounding to me. I feel very lucky and I feel like I'm a miracle in many senses of the word. As his son and as the one who learned the ropes of the American way, because you take on the role of interpreter and application form completer for our first generation immigrants, I felt my dad had a very poor quality of life, even though we were in the land of opportunity. He went from being homeless to owning a business and a house on a quarter acre, to getting a degree in theology, graduating at the top of his class, and becoming a chaplain to help the homeless. Still, he refused to address his mental health through therapy or medication because he didn't want to lose his sobriety. He thought taking medication was unacceptable. And because of it, he estranged his family himself from his family members. And even though he would pour himself out for strangers that he would find in the gutter, literally. Now, if you remember my story of my mom and her science experiments, and my wife and I deciding to have my parents come and live with us so we could care for them, one of the things that I negotiated with my dad was that he had to go to therapy, and he had at least to be open to medication. He fought me on it, but in the end he relented. And I went with him to his first 6 sessions of therapy, and I was really glad to see him jump in and really try and get better. And once a psychiatrist completed a battery of tests, he put him on a regimen of meds to help him with his depression spirals and bipolar episodes, and it was night and day. I was a little upset at first because it made for an easy answer to a very, very tough life. His refusal to care for his mental health strained family relationships to the point of rupture. I was going to experience the healthy side of him for what turned out to be just under 4 years before he passed, but I cherished that time with him. When he broke his hip about 2 years ago, I coordinated all the follow-up appointments with physical therapists. I told the doctors, send me an older, experienced person. Don't send me some young, energetic influencer because my dad will hurt his or her feelings. And they complied. They sent me an older guy who was no nonsense, no small talk, get in, get out. He was a good fit. But after about the 5th or 6th appointment, my dad pulled me aside and said, I need you to stop. Well, stop what? I asked, and I knew what he meant, but I needed him to say it. And he said, stop trying so hard. I'm tired. I'm in pain. I'm done. And he said some other very loving things to me, and I respected his wishes, and so I stopped. And I decided to interview him for a book that I wrote about stepping into your purpose, and we shared as many laughs as we could before dementia really started to step in and obliterate the person that I knew as my dad. And within about 6 months, he lost the use of his legs because he didn't want to get out of bed anymore. And about 90 days after that, he stopped being able to communicate. And by the time he died, he would only call out to his grandmother when he needed something. So everybody became grandma. And I hated seeing him that way, but I had to respect his decision and ignore my selfish motivations to prove that the problem is a solution, that nothing was impossible for me, and the answer was right there. So why don't you take it? And on the night he passed, my wife and I knew it was coming. We had prayed over him, and my wife tenderly whispered into his ear that it was okay to let go, that we would take care of Mom, my mother, and that if he wasn't sure, that we had forgiven him for everything he might be worried about, and where he might have fallen short as a father or a husband, and he passed away shortly thereafter. Now, what I learned is that respect means that you accept somebody for who they are, even when they're different from you or you don't agree with them. Respect builds feelings of trust, safety, and well-being. And it doesn't always come naturally. It's something that you learn. My dad spent a lifetime disrespecting his family, not intentionally because he didn't know how to, because he didn't have the tools available to him. When he finally did start to use those tools, he used it to offer one last lesson for me. He planted that seed with a simple request, and I'm glad that legacy will live on through me and his grandchildren. If you're in a tough situation with your business partner, your spouse, someone that you feel that you want to preserve a relationship, I am a certified civil and commercial mediator recognized by the State Bar of California. I enjoy helping others engage and create better understanding and better agreements. Mediation is like having your day in court by getting to speak your mind and stay in control of your process instead of being told what is going to happen. More importantly, I love being able to help the situation transition out of demands and focusing on the interest of the parties. Building rapport and getting parties to trust you that you're just trying to achieve the best for everyone is rewarding, and I hope you'll call. Click on the link or the QR code and book a free consultation today.